In Pit Lane, brought to you by AASA. Luxury living with great city views, including Albert Park. By Holder East. And welcome to another edition of In Pit Lane here on Channel 31 and Channel 44 in Melbourne and Adelaide. Well, there's an old Chinese saying that says, may you live in interesting times. I don't think any of us would like to live in times that are quite as interesting as they are at the moment. Of course, we're not coming to you from the studios of RMIT University in the heart of Grand Prix City, Melbourne. We are, in fact, coming to you instead from the luxuriously appointed corporate headquarters of In Pit Lane here beyond the suburban curtain in beautiful parts unknown. Joining us a little bit later on in the program to have a chat about the situation as it exists at the moment and plans for the future will be the CEO of the Australian Motorsport Alliance, Chris Lewis-Williams, and he'll be telling us about plans for the AASA in the future, also for Winton, and some exciting news on Wakefield Park and a lot more. That's coming up a little later in the program. But right now, believe it or not, there has been some news. Not a lot, a little bit, so we might as well show it to you in the In Pit Lane Motorsport News. The growing list of major motorsport events cancelled or postponed because of the current coronavirus pandemic now includes the running of the famous Indianapolis 500. Usually held in May, organisers have now said they plan to reschedule the event for Sunday, August 23rd. Indianapolis Motor Speedway boss Roger Penske said that he was disappointed having to make the decision. However, health and safety of event participants and spectators is our top priority, and we believe that postponing the event is the responsible decision with the conditions and restrictions we are facing. The IndyCar Indianapolis Grand Prix road race will now be held on July the 4th as part of an historic doubleheader with NASCAR. The revised IndyCar calendar is now scheduled to start with 2 races on the streets of Detroit on Saturday, May the 30th and Sunday, May 31. Motorsport UK CEO David Richards has called on Formula One owners, Liberty Media and major teams such as Ferrari, Mercedes and Renault to assist smaller teams to survive the current crisis. Mr Richards, former team principal of Benetton, BAR and ProDrive, said that Formula One's ownership group needs to focus on protecting smaller teams or face the possibility of a much smaller field when Formula One does eventually return to the tracks, hopefully sometime later this year. Mr Richards said, a lot will depend on the way Formula One behaves throughout this. F1 can't afford to lose teams at the back of the grid because that would be a disaster for them. Bernie made sure that when there were tough times, the smaller teams were looked after, and I hope that Liberty see the common sense in that too. The big manufacturers such as Mercedes and Renault will be okay, but if you look at Williams and Racing Point, for example, it's not going to be easy for them. There is a distinct danger of operations going out of business. Formula One CEO and head of Liberty Media, Chase Carey, said this week that Formula One was still aiming to run between 15 and 18 rounds this season. However, as each week goes past, this is looking less and less likely. Some good news from the world of Formula One with the news that the McLaren team members, quarantined in Melbourne after the Australian Grand Prix, have all returned home. McLaren were the first team to pull out of the race after one team member tested positive for the COVID-19 virus, meaning that 16 members of the team were forced into a self-isolation at their Melbourne hotel. In a post to the team Twitter account, the team said, "We are pleased to confirm that as of yesterday evening, all team personnel who were in self-isolation in Melbourne, as well as management who had stayed with them, have now safely returned home. Thanks once again on behalf of the team for all the support and well wishes." All Formula One teams are now on a 3-week mandatory shutdown period, although several teams, including McLaren, Mercedes and Renault, have made themselves and their resources available in the fight against the current pandemic. With real motorsport shut down for the foreseeable future, race fans, drivers and promoters are now turning to sim racing to get their fix. Several series organisers and sanctioning bodies including Formula One, NASCAR, IMSA and IndyCar are running feature events with some of their top stars from the current series, as well as stars of the past and special guest drivers. Supercars Australia is set to kick off their esports championship on the 8th of April. Ironically, the opening round of the new series will take place at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit, a venue which in real life has been removed from the championship. Other venues will include famous overseas circuits, with Monza being the first cab off the rank. Events are scheduled to take place every week for 10 weeks and will feature on Fox Sports and several online platforms. IndyCar staged the first round of their virtual IndyCar iRacing Challenge last weekend at a virtual Watkins Glen Grand Prix circuit. Sage Karam used all his iRacing experience to lead home Felix Rosenqvist by just over 3 seconds. Australian driver Will Power finished third. The virtual race also marked the unofficial IndyCar debut of two-time Australian supercar champion Scott McLaughlin, who recovered from an early incident to finish in 4th place. 7-time NASCAR champion Jimmy Johnson also took part in the event in what may be a preview of his real-life in-car debut later this year. The second round of the 6-round series will be held on Saturday, April the 4th on the Barber Motorsports Park road course. Future rounds will take place at a driver's choice track, a random draw track, the Circuit of the Americas and a non-IndyCar dream track for the final round, which could possibly include Mount Panorama or the Nürburgring Nordschleife among the choices. Over at NASCAR, they too have got into the pro driver virtual racing scene with the 125-mile race at a virtual Texas Motor Speedway. Experienced gamer Timmy Hill took the win after a virtual bump and pass on a virtual William Byron before holding off fellow NASCAR drivers Ryan Preece and Garrett Smithley for the win. Hill was one of the pre-race favourites for the event with over 1,677 starts in top-level online competition. In the real world, he's only had 4 regular season NASCAR Cup races with a best finish of 27th. With the cancellation of the Bathurst 6-hour race, November's Bathurst International may be expanded to a 4-day event in order to include the Production Car Classic. Matt Braid, CEO of the Australian Races Group, told the website Speed Cafe that the production car race would require significant track time, not only for the race itself, but for practice and qualifying sessions. The Bathurst International is set to be headlined by the TCR Bathurst 500, the final round of the TCR Australia series. Touring Car Masters and the Trans Am will also take part. The new S5000s are also scheduled for the event, although the appearance of the 5-litre open wheelers will be dependent on a Motorsport Australia track inspection and safety assessment. And when and if programming returns to normal, we'll see a new look for last year's championship-winning Audi in the DTM. For Project Title Defence, Audi design has given the 6 factory-entered cars a fresh new look. Audi presented the car of title defender Rene Rast on social media before releasing designs of the other 5 Audis to be driven by Loic Duval, Robert Freins, Jamie Green, Nico Muller and Mike Rockenfeller. With the first half of the season now cancelled, the first race is scheduled for Germany's Norrisring on July 10th to the 12th. And will conclude at Monza in Italy on November 13th to 15th. And that's what isn't happening in the world of motorsport for the week ending Friday, April 3rd, 2020. We'll have more news about what's not happening next week. We're going to take a break now on In Pit Lane on C31 Melbourne and C44 Adelaide and of course on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. When we come back we're going to be joined live via Zoom from all the way from Benalla and lovely Winton Motor Raceway, home of the AASA and the CEO Chris Lewis-Williams. So stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back to In Pit Lane. Just a reminder, if you'd like to contact us here at In Pit Lane, you can send us an email at theshow@inpitlane.com. Remember to like and subscribe our YouTube channel, very important. If you watch the YouTube channel at all, just give it a bit of a click, leave a comment, hopefully nice comments, and That really helps us out a lot with the algorithms for YouTube and getting the program, getting the show pushed to more and more people. The more likes and subscribes that we get, the more YouTube promotes it to other similar audiences. Also, we are on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're even on Instagram. Although we never go on Instagram because I don't understand it at the least. It's been as quiet as a graveyard at midnight here for the last 24 hours or so, and now while I'm recording this, the next door neighbour's dog decides it's going to spring into life, chase a possum or something. But anyway, with everything shut down right now, we thought we'd find out what's happening, what the current situation is with the promoters and the people who run the sport in Australia. Now, we did put out an approach to Motorsport Australia to take part, and unfortunately, as we record this tonight, they have not got back to us at this stage. However, there is an alternative for everybody in the world of motorsport. It's not a it's not a one union shop anymore. There's the AASA. They're based up at Winton Motor Raceway. Also own the Wakefield Park circuit as well, the Benalla Auto Club. And I had the opportunity a little bit earlier today to catch up with their CEO, Chris Lewis-Williams. First of all, Chris, how are you spending your lockdown at the moment? Are you still at work at AASA and Winton, or are you locked away in the comfort of your own home?
No, Brett, we're fortunate that, what are we calling? The social distancing is able to be adhered to at both Winton and the AASA. So where most of the staff have been put off, and there's a few guys at both Winton, Wakefield, and the AASA still attending the office, but we're doing our best to adhere to the rules that guide us at the moment.
So what is the situation at the moment with meetings that are auspiced by AASA? Is basically everything shut down now?
It's all driven by the circuits and by the promoters. So once the mass gathering guidelines got tighter and tighter, it just became unviable to run the meetings. Wakefield had a good weekend with ride days. So they had a ride day Saturday and a ride day Sunday, which should have been round 2 of the Australian Superbike Championship. So they got 40 guys each day that just wanted to come for a ride on their bikes. But from the latest restrictions on Sunday, that's not possible anymore. So, yeah, effectively we're in lockdown. The AASA, there's Steve's there answering the phone, but it's just too hard to put events on under the restrictions. So we're doing all the things you don't normally get to do. So maintenance stuff at the track, exciting things like filing and archiving in the offices. Just all those things that you never get time to do.
Yes, I think at the end of all of this, we're going to be far more organised. I mean, we might come out with a tragedy, but I mean, we're all going to be very organised, and we're going to have very clean and renovated houses.
I think the new normal is going to look quite different to what we've been used to. I think meetings like this will become much more the norm. Online shopping will become much more the norm. We hope that people still want to get out and enjoy their vehicles and race their vehicles and test their vehicles as a bit of an old school analog way to get a buzz.
So what's the situation at the moment? I mean, the problem is we obviously don't know how long this is going to last. I mean, there was talk of it lasting a month. Now then it turned out to be 6 weeks. Now some people are saying that it could even last 4 to 6 months or more. Under those circumstances, I mean, how long can tracks like Winton and Wakefield Park continue to be closed down before it becomes sort of a problem that we're not going to be able to recover from?
Yeah, so we're very fortunate. Over the past 4 years, we've worked really hard on debt. So the Benalla Auto Club group is in a great position to ride this through. Our ability, as we just spoke about, to generate income is virtually zero, but our balance sheet is very strong. Our access to capital is excellent, and there's money in the bank. So certainly the job keeper incentives announced last night by Scott Morrison and Josh Frydenberg certainly aid us in extending our ability to ride this bump. And our goal is to make sure that we keep our teams together. So we've worked hard to build really strong teams and really good motorsport people within our businesses. And we don't want that team to get picked apart. So we'll do what has to be done to make sure we keep us all together.
So, what are the plans so far? I mean, we've seen a number of organisations such as IndyCar and Le Mans with the World Endurance Championship and the Le Mans 24 Hours. They've actually set dates to when they want to come back. Not sure what the point really is of that, but I mean, at least they've got something to work towards. Have you got a date that you've sort of set and said, okay, here's at this stage when we plan to be back, or are you just going to let it sort of ride out and play it by ear?
Yeah, no, I mean, we're guided by the government. So the initial 6-week state of emergency period finishes mid-April. That will go for at least another 6 weeks, which puts you to the end of June. With the wind blowing the right way and everything going well, we would like to think that that's a realistic date, but we're also prepared for it to go, a few months longer than that. So you can plan all you like. What we're trying to do is I guess, not build false hope. We haven't been overly active on our socials promising dates that are going to happen because, mate, we just don't know. So we're being as realistic as we can and just making sure that we communicate where we can and live the dream we're all currently living.
So let's move on now to AASA as a whole and its
Mm-hmm.
role where it is at the moment. We were sort of there at the start. I mean, when Mick Ronk and Bob Jane and all of those people got involved in setting up AASA, a lot of those people are literally gone now. But a lot of the original plans seem to have changed. It's evolved over the years. Where is AASA now? Where do you see yourselves fitting into the local motorsport landscape?
For us, it's all about choice. So we believe the market likes to have a choice, and also we're acutely aware of where we fit. So we're not chasing supercars, we're not chasing F1, we're not, we know that our core strength lives with club level, state level. We promote our own national series, which is AMRS, which is underwritten by the AASA, and that was about reacting to what the customers were asking for. So there were guys that wanted, categories that wanted to be able to race at more than their tracks in their home state. So they came to us and said, well, how about it? So, the vision came out of a couple of categories wanting to race nationally, and we were able to build that up into a series. And this year it was actually looking really strong. That's one of the real shames of coronavirus is the effect it's had on the AMRS, but it's just too hard to take the risk on promoting events, particularly when borders are closed and people's lives have been affected. So the general AASA, we are just reactive to the customer. We put that out daily as a mantra that come and talk to us. If we're the right people to choose, please choose us. If we're not the right people, can you tell us why? And we'll see if we can't make it. We can't be the place to sanction with the next time. So I think the market likes choice. I believe our rules and our safety standards stack up, and our customers tell us that.
We'll have more from Chris Lewis-Williams in just a moment. You're watching In Pit Lane. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to In Pit Lane, coming to you from beyond the suburban curtain from the luxuriously appointed corporate headquarters of In Pit Lane. The luxuriously appointed headquarters of In Pit Lane is about 1.5 by 1.5. I'm talking to you from a box. It probably sounds as if I'm talking to you from a box. That's because I am talking to you from a box. But we soldier on, as they say in the classics. The show must go on. Speaking of the show going on, hopefully when this is all over, we'll be able to get back to racing again. And I continued my talk with Chris Lewis-Williams to find out about some of the plans for the future for AASA and also plans for both Winton and Wakefield Park. Of course, you own Winton and also Wakefield Park, but you're also running rounds at the Bend, the new circuit out at Tailem Bend. What's the relationship like with other circuits? I mean, do you think that will expand even further, and we may even see soon rounds of the AMRS at places like Phillip Island and Sandown?
So Phillip Island and Sandown, we'd love a second round in Victoria. Sandown's tough because they've only got those 5 dates that they're allowed to run race meetings at. Phillip Island, we're having good conversations with them. we believe AMRS has a place as a second national series. And again, if the market wants us, we'll do it, but we're not going to force it down people's throat. That's the joy of the commercial market that we live in. So, we were able to do a deal with Queensland Raceway this year, and that would have been great because the Queensland market, and there were a lot of guys from other states that really wanted to race at QR. So, yeah, look, we've got AASA has a great relationship with the Bend. We sanction a lot of their days. We had a great relationship with Morgan Park, establishing a relationship with QR. We do lots of permits at Sydney Motorsport Park, Wakefield and Winton, obviously, over to Wanneroo. So we're just sort of spreading our wings and offering the choice that is AASA. And if the circuit and the promoters enjoy what we offer and what we offer makes sense, then it's all good to go and partner together.
So, what's the atmosphere like? I mean, the sort of the relationship now with the artist formerly known as CAMS, Motorsport Australia. I mean, it was very tense and very sort of adversarial for a long time. I mean, you're in an interesting position at both Winton and Wakefield Park. Is that you're also open and of course running CAMS sanctioned rounds as well. That we should have been. I think it was last weekend. We should have been up there for a round of the state series.
Yeah.
You're also in the position where you're a competitor as well in the Victorian State Championships with the Porsche 944s, and so what's the relationship now with yourselves and Motorsport Australia? Has some of the fire gone out of the relationship?
So all before my time, Brett. So the conversation we just had about competitors, same. You're right. We're the Benalla Auto Club's in a very enviable position having two circuits. So we're a key ingredient in motorsport in Australia, and we're happy to run Motorsport Australia events, Motorcycling Australia events, AASA events, races events. So that's, the circuit is a blank canvas, and they're only good when they're being used. And we are not the organisation that forces people down a path. We like people to choose and make an educated decision. So we've spent time over the past 3 or 4 years making sure that there's no historical misinformation and there's no us versus them. We're not in a position to dangle highly prized senior marshal positions at Formula One events, because that's not what we do. We are day in, day out, club level, state level permitters, and the guys that want to support our events want the choice to be able to do all of them. So, yeah, look, I'd like to think that a lot of that water's under the bridge, and there might be, a way forward where, Motorsport Australia is now called Motorsport Australia. So we are part of motorsport, and there's lots of other disciplines under there that don't fall in under the overseeing of Motorsport Australia. So if there's a way that we can work together, I think everyone would benefit. Competitors, officials, circuits. It doesn't have to be us versus them. It can be we.
What about Wakefield Park? I haven't been up there for a long time, so I haven't really seen sort of any of the improvements or any changes, obviously. But what are the plans for that? I mean, it's a very unique little circuit in many respects. It's got an atmosphere all its own, and the people who tend to race there really love the place. So, what are the long-term plans for Wakefield?
Yeah, so Wakefield, we'd love to invest some more money there. It's had some challenges with noise, which we agreed with Goulburn Council early this year, a plan to manage the noise. So we've had to give up a few days here and there. We've got Dean Chapman's been manager there now for about 18 months and he's doing a ripper job. And we, with the noise, don't want to call it noise, I want to call it sound. Yes. With the sound plan in place, we are cracking on.
Well, we look forward to that day. We desperately look forward to it. But for now, we just ride out the bumps. Good luck with it for the rest of the year, and hopefully we'll see action back at both Winton, Wakefield, and other circuits very soon. But for now, Chris Lewis-Williams, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks for the chance. Have a chat. Thanks.
Well, thank you to Chris Lewis-Williams for joining us online, and we hope that we're back and racing at both Winton, Wakefield, and of course everywhere in Australia very, very soon. Hope you'll join us again next week on the program. We have no idea what we're going to talk about. Absolutely no idea. We don't know who we're talking to. Actually, I think I do have an idea. If you're interested in the world of Formula SAE, and as I said, you really should be, and Formula student, we've got a very special treat for you, an overseas guest next week on the program who I think you'll be very interested in. So if you're into race car design, even whether it's real or virtual, we'll be talking to somebody who can give you a lot of tips on that next week on the program. Just a reminder, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We'll be able to tell you all about what's happening next. We'll be popping in and out with special live programs, special live streams, basically when I get bored, which doesn't really happen all that often, so you won't see too much of me, so don't panic. But until we see you next week, thanks a lot for joining us, and from everybody at In Pit Lane, wherever they are, thanks for watching and bye for now.